Can you introduce yourself to me?
43 years ago I came to Holland. I'm Dutch, more than 10 generations, but I studied in different yeshivot, Talmudic high schools. Came back to Holland, became the local rabbi of Amersfoort. That's a small community in Holland. But in that small community, Amersfoort, that town, there was the only Jewish psychiatric hospital in Europe, Jewish psychiatric hospital. And so I was working as the local rabbi, but also as a part of the management at the end of the psychiatric hospital. So I've been working for 40 years in psychiatry. But the first 6 years I was the local rabbi, and then the former chief rabbi of the interprovincial chief rabbinate asked me to become his assistant, and then I was his successor. And today I am the chief rabbi of the interprovincial chief rabbinate of the Netherlands and president of the Union of Rabbis in Holland. So basically, I've got a lot of contact, of course, in Jewish community. The Jewish community in Holland is not so large; it's small. 80% of Dutch Jewry was killed during the war. Before the war, Amsterdam was called Jerusalem from the west. And today it's very small and tiny. And because anti-Semitism is growing in the whole of Europe, I don't know if I could say it's right to say it's growing. Perhaps we have to say it becomes more visible, and it never disappeared. After the war, when the Jews, the few people who survived, came back, they were not very welcome. The most of them, very, very disappointed the way they were. They felt. They thought, we were, coming out from the concentration camp. Oh, everybody were happy. We are back. People were not happy because the people who took over the houses had to give the houses back, and so forth. So the disappointment of the Jews after the war was very, very strong. I know people who survived the war. I myself, I was born after the war. As they came back from a concentration camp, came in the south of Holland, in Limburg. That's the place where the Jews in general, coming back from the concentration camp, came first, entered Holland. I know a man living in my town. He was a boy from 10 years. He came back, survived, and of course wanted to know, are my parents still alive? And he wanted to go take a train to go to the north of Holland. He was arrived in the south, but he could not get onto the train because he had no card, no ticket, and he had no money to pay. The way to the concentration camp was free. He did not have to pay. The way back he had to pay. So this person, till today, he can't go into a train in public transport because at the moment he goes into a train or a bus, he remembers what happened when he was standing there on the train station in the south of Holland in 1945. Anti-Semitism is growing or getting more visible in a very, very visible way, and it's one incident after the other is taking place.
Can you give me some examples of what is happening in Europe?
In France, last week, swastikas on a Jewish cemetery. 2 weeks ago, myself, I was, someone started cursing me in the street and running behind me, and in a very aggressive way. I had to run away and to try to get the police quick on the spot. My own house where we're sitting now, is surrounded by 6 police cameras. It's very friendly and kind, and the way I get protected is amazing. I'm very happy with it. But the very fact it's needed is absolutely ridiculous. The Jewish schools in Holland, we've got 2 Jewish schools, they are surrounded by a fence, like a fence, the same quality as a fence in the most criminal prison in Holland. There's police, we've got our own guards, and soldiers are standing in front of the school when there are lessons. It's very good government is doing this and protecting us, but the very fact it's needed, it is ridiculous.
What is it like to live under such conditions?
I'm used to it. I'm used to this kind of life. I'm not. I am personally not scared at all, but I have to be aware that there is a danger. So in a certain way, it could be not so good that I'm not scared. But I should be more scared. But I'm not. But on the other hand, yeah, I'm used to it. We are used to it. That if we have a meeting from Jewish groups, or let's say a school wants to make a Jewish school wants to make an outing, there has to be protection. You can't go without protection. I can walk in the street, no problem, yeah, but I have to be aware that it could be a car tries to drive into me, and that happened already a few times. Um, so what's like? I think, like, let's put it that way. After the war, my father told me. My father is, of course, a survivor of the war. I was born in '49. Don't worry, such a thing, what I went through, my father told me, will never ever happen again. But about 15 years later, he told me, make sure you also always have got 8,000 gulden in your house. You never know. Yeah, perhaps you need to escape to find a quick go out of the country. And before he was snifter, he died. He warned me, be aware, this is going to happen again. And what I heard from my parents, I'm not the only one, because my whole generation, the second generation, we are brought up in the shadow of the concentration camps and the Second World War. We all have the same experiences. Our parents warned us, and a lot of people of my generation always have money in the house. You never know if you need it, yes or no. And you won't have access to the banks anymore, like in the war, in the Shoah. Jews could not get things from the bank anymore because they were Jewish. So such a thing, we have to be aware that could happen.
Can you tell me about what happened last week in Belgium, and what signal does it give?
In Belgium, last week there was a carnival celebration, and in this carnival celebration, the week of carnival, people make processions, and one of the in the procession, different groups are there with cars and making fun about different things. There was a car in the procession which symbolizes huge big puppets of Jews, but the way they described, they showed, they demonstrated what a Jew looks like was just terrible. It was it was exactly the same picture like during the Second World War. There was a movie, and calling upon the people go to see this movie and see what Jews are like, what they are doing to the world, because the Nazis in the Second World War had a problem, because German people want to be ethical, so they had to explain the people that to kill Jews is ethical, because Jews are terrible people, criminals. So they made the movie, and the announcement, the poster of this movie, you see a picture of a Jew with a dirty face, looking criminal, rich, fat, sitting on money, and exactly the same picture they showed in this procession. It was supposed to be funny. Now, what would have been the most normal? That afterwards say, okay, we made a mistake. No, the mayor insists and continues telling that it was carnival, so you're allowed to do anything. Nothing wrong with it. This deeply hurt a lot of Jewish people, and it is, it's like in the years 1930, 38, the beginning of the Nazi time. They're making the whole time showing the world how evil Jews are and how logical it is to kill them, and that happened in this carnival celebration, the procession. And No, they did not want to take it back and not say sorry or we didn't mean it like that. No, they continued. And that is worrying. So every week is something else going on in Europe. In London, the big problems. Partial anti-Semitic issues. The government, the Socialist Party, one of the largest party in England, they're openly anti-Semitic. This last week, 8 people left from the government, from the Socialist Party, left the party because of their anti-Semitic approach. Okay, 8 left, but how many did not leave? Yeah, it's accepted. And then you're getting today. You have during the the time of the Crusaders, we had the wrong religion, so we were allowed to kill Jews because we had the wrong religion. In the Middle Ages, we were the ones who like a virus who made were the cause of terrible diseases. In the Second World War, we were Jewish. We had the wrong the young race, the wrong race, and today all Jews are Zionists. If I'm yes or not Zionistic is not important. Because I'm Jewish, I'm Zionistic.
Talking about Zionism, because we were talking earlier about anti-Semitism rising in Europe. We were talking about Carnival, and we're also talking about people who criticize Israel. So where exactly is the line between acceptable critics to Israel and anti-Semitism?
I think the line is not... You can't put a line. The question is, why is someone having critics on Israel? Why? What is his way of thinking? Is he criticizing Israel because he's anti-Semitic? Or does he really have a problem with some kind of approaches in Israel? In Israel itself, a lot of Jewish people have also criticism on government. There's nothing against having criticism, but, formally, we could say someone could be anti-Zionist, but it does not mean he's anti-Semitic. But I never in my life saw a person who's anti-Semitic who loves Israel. It's getting closer and closer and closer, and today I believe there's no difference anymore. It's just a different way for anti-Semitism. It's called anti-Zionism because it's not nice to say you're anti-Semitic. So you say I'm against Israel. It's getting the same. So if this is your motivation, then every word of criticism on Israel is only based on anti-Semitic approach. It could be someone's not anti-Semitic at all, has some criticism of Israel. It could be, and that, of course it happens. But in the world, the average person does not know the difference anymore against anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism.
So what would you say to the government who is criticizing Israel and supporting, or political parties who are supporting boycott of Israel?
That they have to realize that by doing so and not careful with the language, it will be translated that it is anti-Semitism, and therefore their call upon Israel to change some political approach is in fact a call upon the world to be anti-Semitic, not anti-certain ideas of approach from Israel. People won't understand that. The majority of people don't understand what's flying. They just follow. Yeah, and today, it happens. My Dutch is perfect. I'm Dutch for more than 10 generations. That I give somewhere a talk and people give me a compliment that my Dutch is so brilliant. I speak so well. I'm Dutch. Oh, we thought you were Jewish. Judaism and Israel, today it is the same. Yeah, in theory it's not the same, but for the people they don't know the difference anymore.
So what would you say to these people that maybe out of good intentions have critics of Israel, but how
you have to realize that each word what you use against Israel will be translated as words against Jews in general. You have to be aware of it, and if you don't mean it like that, people understand it like that. So be aware, know your responsibility as a political leader, that if you say have criticism on Israel and you don't describe it correctly, that it will have a wrong translation.
So what do you think about the future? Do you see a sunny future for Europe or not so sunny?
Listen, the very fact, I'm not scared, Jews always survive. The very fact that although through the ages there were always pogroms and always tried to kill us, nevertheless we're sitting here and Israel is existing, and everywhere in the world Jewish people are there, and Judaism, religious Judaism is flourishing more than ever. But on the other hand, we have to be realistic. I think the future for Jews in Europe, I want it to be, and fighting for it. And if I want to go to Israel, it should be that it will be my own decision, and because I want it like that. But I don't let myself being forced, because I'm scared for anti-Semitism, forced to go to Israel. So I think European Judaism should realize and fight to survive. Okay, go to Israel, fine. Yeah, but it should be your decision, and don't leave your native country because you're forced to leave.
Do you feel alone here in Europe in this point of view?
Do I feel alone? Yes, you see that more and more. We also see, because of what happens, growing anti-Semitism, that we got a lot of, we make coalitions with Christians, other religious streams in Holland. You get new friends. On the other hand, yes, we're getting more and more isolated. We're getting smaller and smaller, and the circumstances are not good. You see young people moving out, those who want to live Jewish and go around with a kippah. You see that they are, some are scared. I'm against the baseball cap. Some people, instead of going with a hat, they go with a baseball cap. I understand. I respect. But the very fact that doing that is not good. It's no good. So you see young people, if I speak of Holland, moving out. And you see elderly people being scared. So the situation at this very moment is no good. So what should we do? Fight against this, fight anti-Semitism, and there are groups who are supporting us. But at this very moment, the far majority is not supporting, is against Israel, and against Israel again, it means against Jews in general.
So where do you get your hope from?
My hope? We're Jewish. God created the world, and in that world is a lot of evil too. And why did he create it like that? We don't know. He just created like that. We don't know why he created the world with so many problems and wars and diseases. But at the same time, we don't know why he created this world. We do know what he wants of us. He wants each of us build a temple, make of his own house a holy place, make of his surrounding a holy place. Each person should make himself into the holy person. What I mean with holy person, follow that what God wants of each of us. Serve him, be aware of him. And at the same moment, okay, if someone's ill, he must go to a doctor. At the end, if the doctor can't heal him, Hakol b'yedei Shomayim, everything comes from God, so we have to accept it. So here too, I'm here, placed here in Holland, that is the way where I'm supposed to be, and here I have to build and serve God and tell the world that there is a God, and today we have anti-Semitism is a problem, but there's not a problem. The secularization of society in Europe, more and more, especially in Holland, in England, but also in Canada, I know. Let's say the Christian schools are basically in name Christian. There's nothing Christian anymore in the schools, most of them. The same in Judaism. You see assimilation, you see secularization. In Holland, euthanasia, everything is permitted. So those approaches are against the will of God. So we have to fight. It's nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It has to be it is a war against God, against the Holy Bible, the Holy Torah. So sitting here, I have to fight against anti-Semitism to protect myself, but also against secularization. And we see that we can do with the Christian world. We can do together a lot of things. There are differences, big differences, but at the very moment, it's more important to emphasize what we've got in common. And you see in Europe that in a lot of places there are Christians who don't want to baptize us, but want to fight with us together against secularization. That are nice things. So do I have hope? Of course I have hope. Hope that soon will be the time of Mashiach, and everything will be peace, and everybody will understand there's a creator of this world, and I have to serve him.
Thank you, Chief Rabbi Jacobs.